to deal with it. And these are the solutions. This is one of the solutions. You want solutions? The solutions is number one, change your attitude towards dealing with it, and you'll be able to deal with it. That's pretty much what I have to say. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I cannot hear you.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you very much, Ziad. That's a wonderful message, positive message, reinforcing that this is not the end of the world and we survived many pandemics and we will survive this one too. Having the positive attitude is the important factor that gives confidence, and you can.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
That you have your mental condition. Can you guys hear me?
Now I can. Before I couldn't. Go ahead.
Okay. Again, I would like to thank you for joining us today. I have one question for the audience. Everybody wants to be successful. So I want to ask you, how do you define success in your terms?
Success is about empowering people. It's not clipping people's wings. Unfortunately, for a lot of people in this world, they think success being on the top is controlling your people, controlling a message, controlling a narrative. On the contrary, success, you're going to have to lift people up to think like you. They have to get to the top before you. You have to put them on your shoulders for them to get to the top. And you know what? If they all get to the top, they will all lift you up even higher without you even asking them to do that. You don't even have to ask them to do that. This is why I created my course and my book, Startup Saboteurs, which you can get on Amazon.com, talks about that. How you build a company, how you scale a company, how you negotiate a deal. It's already in the negotiation. How you exit a deal and how you create wealth. What are the things to do? What are the things to avoid? I'm not a professor. I'm not an academic. These guys, frankly, I don't have much respect because they don't have skin in the game. They pontificate. They never know what risk is. They never took risk in their life. For me, I respect the entrepreneur capitalist who has skin in the game, who took risks, and who did that. And this is what I explain in the book. I also created a course associated with the book to deal with these issues. Let me tell you one thing. Honestly, at this point in time, I have it all. The only thing I need is to empower as many people as possible to have this line of thinking, to succeed, to help each other, and to stop scaring each other and controlling each other and trying to basically, excuse my French, screw each other. It has to be a win-win for everybody. You know, I mean, because you can get value from everyone, from the guy who's more powerful than you and the guy who's, you know, just a regular individual. Why don't you turn this regular individual into a really producing, you know, well-oiled money machine?
Thank you, Ziad. It's a wonderful message. So now I have one request I made to you to offer some discount. If somebody wants to buy this book, you offered about 45% discount. Any of the organizations who are participating today, if they want to distribute their book, please contact me or Ziad. We will offer you the discount.
Yes, and by the way, I'd like to say one last note, Harry. The proceeds of the book, of the course, are not going to me, are going to the Financial Policy Council, which is a 501c3 nonprofit, which is based on wealth creation.
Thank you so much.
Creation is everything.
Yes, thank you so much, Ziad. And we do Financial Policy Council. We promote the entrepreneurship and we connect Wall Street, Main Street, and Washington to legislate in a way to encourage the entrepreneurship. And we have events going on in New York City. And now we probably need to switch to webinars because of the COVID situation, but we'll handle it. And we look forward to your participation in these conferences and webinars. Thank you, Ziad, for a wonderful message. One last question, quickly, I want you to answer. Money and capitalism, is it good or evil? Because so many types of systems are in the place in the market now. Money and capitalism, is it good?
Well, okay, it's a good question. Look, there are different shades of capitalism. Capitalism is not one thing. There is crony capitalism, which is mostly prevailing today, which is not working, and there is capitalism. There's two different things. Crony capitalism is very bad because it's abused constantly. Money is not bad. Money is not evil. Money is about freedom. It depends who's using the money and for what purpose. At the end of the day, we come back to people, to individuals. We don't go back to technologies or commodities or money. Who is behind it? And always, even when you hear somebody talking about any topic, just the first thing you check is not the veracity of the topic, but who is saying it and what is his agenda, because everyone has an agenda. And when you start thinking like this, you start assessing situations very differently.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ziad. Good to see you. And we look forward to working with you. Appreciate all the good work you're doing through Financial Policy Council, through Blackhawk Partners, and through this book, empowering many, many youngsters who wants to be a successful entrepreneurs. Thank you so much. And
Thank you, Harry. My pleasure.
And take care of yourself. Thank you. MC's back to you.
Our next speaker is Vaibhav Kant Upadhyay, a development leader known for his statesmanship, macro vision, and pragmatism. A prolific out-of-the-box thinker, he successfully established the India-Japan Global Partnership Initiative and is widely regarded as the architect of the modern India-Japan relationship. This has led to mega initiatives like the Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor, which was formed to re-establish the industrial culture of India. He is now focusing his efforts on establishing an alternative development model and forming a unique model of global strategic partnership led by India, Japan, and Norway. Under this model, the collaborative strengths and resources of global partners are utilized to empower not just the development, but the developing nations too. Mr. Upadhyay is the founding chairman of the Alternative Development Organization in Oslo, Norway, which is the headquarters of the ADM movement. The organization will take forward initiatives to establish ADM around the world. Let's welcome Mr. Upadhyay to speak about the alternative development model and how it is crucial in times like COVID-19.
Vaibhav, please unmute yourself. Unmute. Yes, okay. Go ahead.
Namaste, friends. My name is Vaibhav Upadhyay. Thank you, Sami, for introduction. Dr. Hari, thank you very much for inviting me at this webinar. And first of all, I would like to say, pay my gratitude to my mentor, my guru, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, under whose leadership this webinar is happening today, with whose blessings. 24 years back, we at an organization called India Center in Tokyo, we started this thought process of alternative development model. And to achieve that new development model in the world, the question was, how do we drive it and why it is needed? And I'm giving this background before I come to the point, why it is more important after COVID-19. So the first question which came to our mind at that time, what is the ruckus of the world? Why there are so many problems in the world? And we all, those friends, which included some Indian leaders, Japanese leaders, other world leaders, we were just discussing, and we came to a very common thought process that, all what you see around the world, the war, the problems, and ideological conflicts, this is because these are just symptoms, These are not the root cause. And let's get to the root cause. What is the root cause? So we found in our researches and our thought processes that the root cause was in the design of the development model which we were following for 300 years, or maybe more, So there was a time when people in certain part of the world had a practices to was which was successfully running, It changed hands so many times, like in 1945, the imperialism went down, capitalism took over, then it had a Cold War with the socialism. Socialism fought with capitalism, and then European Union decided to use the hybrid of capitalism, socialism, and then comes China, which decided to basically take a new experiment of capitalism with communism together. So in 1996, between 1996 and 2000, we did this experiment of bringing Japan together as a global partner, where we exactly in the same model what France and Germany did in EU. And if we can come up with a framework of a new development model, which can, if accepted by masses and countries and regions, then we can potentially be able to do what France and Germany did. They brought an entire region of Europe together. We had a potential to bring the entire Asia and Africa together. That was the vision. But the important is that the model has to be accepted and it should be working for all. So the major difference, so it took us 5-6 years to come up with the partnership framework of India-Japan when it was announced. And then after it was announced, the first model based on this first initiatives based on this model were made in India. India being 1/6 of humanity, we took this as a socioeconomic framework, a socioeconomic lab like Africa. So there are many initiatives were done. Now I'm coming to the subject of COVID-19 and why I think world is looking for a change. In a human life, it's like a perfume. It has so much of goodness and good experiences. Sometimes bad also, but so for us, this COVID-19 is like coffee beans in a perfume shop. We're between one flavor of perfume to another flavor of perfume. So pre-COVID-19, we were going through a different type of life and a flavor of life. Definitely, this is not going to be the same after COVID-19. And what has happened in this period, I think this was nature's warning, where a scientist very well said, if human doesn't care about nature, if human does not take care of nature, nature will take care of them. So this is a sign of warning to the human societies, and we need to recognize. We can survive it well if we can recognize and if we can really act upon that. What is this warning about? So my question to those strong nations and strong leaders and so big bragging leaders across the world talking about thousands of nukes and trillions of dollars in their bank, where are those? Where are those now? Why they are not able to stop Corona? Why they are not able to second day in 2 days bring the vaccine or some medicine? Because every solution has a time period, a process through which you can bring a solution. So the solution which is required for the human society now has to be scientific and structured and process driven for all the ruckus and toxicity it has created in last 300 to 400 years. And we have to recognize that, we still are not understanding this. We still are trying to practice. Our friend China, my friends in China, I always tell them, there's no harm in thinking large initiatives of development, but anything which you do through exploitation is going to only create bigger problems and bigger reaction from the human beings. Look at Africa, look at many other developing nations, how they have been exploited for last 300, 400 years, and still we are not able to come up with a new model. So my appeal to to this esteemed gathering is that the time has come when we should, hold hands together. Our friend Zaid very well said that empowerment is the is a key word today. So the difference between the old development model and the new development model, which we are proposing, is that the old one was always exploitation based majorly. I will not say the entire part of that, but majorly. But we have to now switch it to the majorly empowerment based development model. At our foundation, we have been researching and coming up with the initiatives. We have already done initiatives which are which are now government to government initiative, but we catalyze it to happen. There are, some of them are largest PPP models in the world, and they are different from the old way of doing things, and they are going to empower people in a different way. So I would like to make a last comment based upon COVID's experience. The first thing we should basically focus on evolving of alternative healthcare model. And healthcare model, everybody will agree why we are facing this problem today is because the healthcare model was never been designed for masses. It was always designed for need to base, And it is very similar to like a car garage, where when the car meets the accident, it goes to garage, it has been corrected as sent back. So it was basically made for the sick people and to repair the sick people. It was never created to keep the society healthy. And with the alternative of this healthcare model, I would like Dr. Hari and many of our colleagues here to join hands to, we would like to maybe in one of the webinars to bring that model which we are proposing to WHO now and our government also. And this will be very much a similar template of Delhi Mumbai Industrial Corridor and other corridors made in India, and some of the initiatives we are doing in Africa. It's a same template of empowerment, and then how we can reach to masses, how we can increase the portion of self-care versus the portion of healthcare. If we can create a larger self-care infrastructure which people can access at every level, that's where I think the healthcare will start changing. With this, I thank you very much for this opportunity and this webinar. Thank you, Dr. Hari, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vibhav. It's wonderful to see you, and thank you for joining from Japan. I agree with you fully. It should be empowered based economy, not exploitation. And I think we need to transition. Thank you for inviting me for the inaugural session to address the gathering of the Alternate Development Organization in Oslo on December 11th. You created a very, very need of our organization. I think we need to recruit more people, more countries to join this movement to make a difference. We need to take all people along. It has to be an inclusive development, not just 1% or 2% of development. Imagine if we could empower even 10% of the people throughout the world, we can see a big, big difference. And ultimate goal is to preserve and protect this planet for future generations so that everybody can live happily on this planet and peacefully. Thank you so much for joining us today. We will look forward to working with you on this. And I think this webinar proceedings should come up with a solid recommendation for various governments to implement and adapt and deregulate as much as possible and use technology to empower everybody. Thank you so much. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Professor Manuel Freire Garabal, a professor of pharmacology at the School of Medicine at the University of Santiago de Compostela. He has a PhD in medicine and surgery and is the director of the SNL Lennart Levi Research Group, focused on the discovery of new drugs against cancer and infection, including new anti-SARS-CoV-2 compounds. He is a fellow of the Royal Society of Medicine and IBNS, has authored over 100 articles and over 20 books, and has won 20 international and national awards. He is a member of several boards of advisors of the European Union and the Spanish scientific policy bodies. He is also the founder of the Compostela Group of Universities. Let's welcome Professor Garabal to deliver his keynote on higher education in the COVID-19 era.
Thank you very much. Honorable Dr. Bardhan, Minister of the Indian Government and WHO Chairman, dear Chief Guest, Dr. Hari Hanapali, dear colleagues, keynote and distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor for me to be invited by the lead Indian to participate in this exciting and prestigious webinar about the impact of COVID-19 on the global economy. The title of my presentation is Higher Education in the COVID-19 Era. Recently, I wrote an article for a newspaper, and the title was, Is this a global virus war? Well, I made a comparison between the Second World War and the COVID-19 pandemics. Why? Because World War II was probably the most disastrous in the history. However, in the end, many people found an acceptable level of peace to continue with their lives. By contrast, COVID-19 has also devastating effects on a global scale, but also made us see previously invisible threats around us that can provoke unpredictable changes in our future lives. As Pliny the Elder said in the first century, in this situation, the only certainty is just uncertainty, because COVID-19 has affected the direction of international policies, including higher education. In this moment, we are challenging universities to survive without students, and students to survive without universities, at least in the way we previously knew. As consequence of the coronavirus outbreak on the 30th of March, over 166 countries have implemented nationwide closures that impacted over 1.52 billion students, representing the 87% of the world students' population, and additionally, nearly 60 million teachers were no longer in the classrooms. So this is really a high impact that was not found in any previous global war. Also, the economical crisis provoked by coronavirus has a big impact on higher education. Why? Because it's reducing employment opportunities for graduates, provokes delays in the students paying fees, or just the inability to pay tuition at all. Governments have also difficulties in funding institutions, at least to the desired level, and even more importantly, students are changing their preferences and expectations on education. For example, a study made by McKinsey in the United States showed that 15% of United States students are likely to defer by at least the first semesters of the next academic course. 45% are very likely to look for a different school, and about 83% expect a tuition discount if the campus is closed in 2021. So this is a crisis, but we consider this is not a short-term crisis, because we can't expect three different epidemiological and public health scenarios depending on the pandemic control. In the first one, if in the case the virus is contained in the next months, 2-3 months, we can predict a vital drop in the first year undergraduate enrollment. In the United States, about 15%. Will have a 5% drop in their budgets. That represents $7 billion in revenues at the sector. And in the case the enrollment falls to the 20%, the amount will be $19 billion. Institutions at higher risk will be, of course, those with more high margin international students. For example, United Kingdom, international cancellations will represent at least £11 billion losses for the next academic course. Pandemic also is affecting emerging economies that offer cost-effective education options to many students from low-income countries. So the problem is being really global. In the worst scenarios, in the case virus recurs in the next months or there is a pandemic escalation, most schools will be exclusively online since 2020. In that case, first-year students will lack of an on-campus orientation, travel will be minimal, and the crowded events will not occur in 2021. And probably an essential share of the class of 2021 will not graduate. In the case of a pandemic escalation scenario, the percentage of higher education institutions in the United States suffering more than a 5% budgetary shortfalls will be the 50%. And well, this is really a dramatic situation we have to manage. And how we can do it? Well, decisions will affect education methodology, students' experience, and organization levels. Teaching methodology will change to specific protocols based on innovation. One of them, I have been attending many webinars, and last one of this group mentioned it, is hybrid learning, which replaces part of the physical communication between the students and instructors by the online connection. Unlike other concepts like blended or flipped education, students are not merely watching a lecture. They have classrooms that incorporate interactive online virtual components. Which are the benefits of incorporating online modules? Well, the first one is that we maintain one-on-one interactions between instructors and students. It's more easy. We can use interactive virtual simulators, tools, and exercises that are not possible in the physical environment. We improve cost efficiency. Online labs are cheaper to build and to maintain than physical ones. Flexibility. We do not depend on travel plans. More capacity for students in a group. This does not depend on the number of classroom seats. Scalability. We can expand or decrease the number of virtual machines and resources very quickly. We can adapt teaching or education to our agendas. And accessibility. It only depends on the internet connection and not on the geographical location. Some people ask to me, well, but this limits internationalization. It's not true. If we do it in multiple network environments. Our aim, in my case, is to join the best minds in any discipline with the most suitable students worldwide in an affordable way. We know that there are more resources for innovation outside our schools than inside them. And we know that most of the smart professors are not in our headquarters. So we can put them in contact through the net using hybrid learning together with, of course, offline learning. A second aspect is that the students need to perceive the varied nature of the university experience. Therefore, it will be necessary to replicate some aspects of the on-site education on the online environment. This will require creativity, planning, technology. Webinars like this and other even more sophisticated activities can be helpful. Some authors suggest to celebrate online parties, society events or ceremonies. That's a good idea and will provide some experiences in these times. And finally, regarding the organization of institutions, crisis management has to be centralized, but at the same time, implemented at each level of the hierarchy and job families. We need to create nerve centers to develop integrated responses for the different epidemiological scenarios, taking into account that volatility will become part of our new normal. Pandemic economic disruption will cost between the $9 to $33 trillion, which represents several times the projected cost of preventing future pandemics. But even though authors estimate an expenditure of $70 to $120 billion over the next 2 years and $20 to $40 billion annually to reduce the probability of future pandemics significantly. So this investment should be dedicated not only to the development of new vaccines and medicines and drugs, I am already involved in one of them, but also to promote new health professionals and to provide continuous education for the existing ones. For this purpose, new technologies in education and specifically hybrid learning will be essential. So, well, in summary, COVID-19 coronavirus has presented us many challenges. But although we cannot reverse the damage that the disease has done and will do in the society in the future at a global level, that encompasses much more than the purely sanitary, we shall try to learn lessons from this crisis and look for solutions to serve to face future threats more efficiently. And higher education in the health science will be one of the most important aims to follow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. Wonderful to see you from Spain. And you highlighted a lot of things, the blended learning, since it's a medicine, you need to have a lot of hands-on experience for the students to undergo. So hopefully the virtual reality kind of concept will bring light into that area to bridge the gap. So one question I have, because of the COVID, how it's impacting, my wife is a physician also, she's doing a lot of telemedicine. So how this digital medicine, like telemedicine, will take shape, and what kind of changes we still need to improve the telemedicine delivery?
Mm-hmm. Undoubtedly, virtual health, this is a broad term that encompasses telehealth or telemedicine, among others, is a subject in which I work intensively to develop new mobile and health applications and to design the new educational tools. The use of telehealth has skyrocketed in the past few months, especially in the United States. Health providers have scaled offerings from 50 to 175 times in the gap between the end of 19, when the COVID appeared, and the 30th of March, more or less. And telemedicine in this moment has substituted between the 11% at the end of 2019 to the 40% in the months we have spent in 2020. So, well, the isolation caused by COVID-19 made patients and healthcare professionals to use this tool, but they realize that this is they have advantages on their daily life. So I am sure this will be a good starting point for new developments in this area and in these specialties.
So thank you so much, Professor. Wonderful. We look forward to working with you, and we need your help in drafting these proceedings as well for the webinar, so that the recommendations can be shared with the World Health Organization and other countries and institutions who are interested. Thank you so much. So Vibhav, I would like to bring you back one more time, because you also mentioned about developing an alternate healthcare system through Alternate Development Organization. So can you share some of your thoughts on that, where you plan to implement through Alternate Development Organization, if you can?
Yes, of course. Well, I am involved in a project.
I'm asking this question to Vibhav. Thank you very much. Vibhav, come back, please.
Thank you, Dr. Hari. So, Dr. Hari, currently we have the roadmap, the blueprint ready. It took us 7 years to come up with this model of alternative healthcare, and we are in talks with the government of some state governments in India, because it has to be implemented at the state level first. A all India or maybe all Africa will be very difficult to do it, and it's very interestingly includes components of blockchain as a technology, and also it includes a model which is like reverse of the current model. The pyramid is like, and very interestingly, the overall cost, if it is implemented, cost of the number of people covered by this new model will be bigger, and the dilemma of the exchequers, that who will pay the bill, will be taken care of, and also it will basically make the nations asset light. That means they don't have to make tens of thousands of hospitals because as a symbol of healthcare. It will be a healthcare in a real sense, where it will be incorporated in terms of infrastructure of self-care, and more on knowledge base, and more on so prevention. Then prevention is the first line of defense. And so preventive healthcare infrastructure, self-care, and then the healthcare. And the healthcare infrastructure we have today in the world, not all the world, but in most of the world, is more than enough actually, if we analyze it in a different way.
Thank you. Vibhav. I think you mentioned the self-care will definitely take care of a lot of things initially, and preventive care next, and then finally healthcare. That's where the investment is needed in a different way, using the technology. Maybe I believe in having a genetic profile of every individual, so that the government has the data to analyze and predict what are the next major focus the funding has to go into in preventive care. I think those are the kind of things I would like to work with you with the alternate development organization. Thank you so much.
Dr. Hari, we have a Japanese team which is ready with an AI-based, blockchain-based, massive engine of healthcare, which can predict for coming 20 years an individual what is he going to face as a possible healthcare issue.
I'd love to learn more about it offline. Thank you so much, Vibhav. So since we are kind of getting late in terms of time, but I request sincerely the speakers to limit to their allocated time, so that we can have more interaction with the audience if we can save some time. Please, MCs, go to the next speaker, please.
Our next speaker today is Natalia Sokolova, the co-founder and managing partner of SGG World Single Family Office and Strategic Guidance Group. She's a trusted member and speaker of prestige at domestic and international family office networks and conferences. She has recently co-founded Skins GG, which is a health, wellness, and lifestyle platform for gamers to help manage various aspects of increased gaming activity due to COVID. Ms. Sokolova graduated from the University of Maryland with a bachelor's in finance and international business. Natalia is a member of the Russian Nobility Society, National Investor Relations Institute, and National Association of Professional Women. Now, let's welcome Natalia Sokolova to deliver her keynote on COVID-19's impact on health and wellness in the gaming community.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate everybody's participation and having me here as well. Absolutely, COVID-19 has absolutely changed the way people live, how the companies operate their businesses. As a member of a single family office and a member of many family offices organization, it's very clear right now that a lot of families are looking for more non-traditional investments and charitable activities that are strategically aligned with the impact of COVID-19. Family offices, usual way of conducting business, is very personal, intimate, and face-to-face. That's all changed now, and now they're forced to adapt to a very digital way of communicating. One industry that we're devoting more and more time right now, which is up very drastically since the quarantine started, is the gaming industry. Since March 2020, online gaming has increased more than 75% according to Verizon. With education, meeting, conferences moving online, the gaming industry is more important now than ever. With a community of 2.8 billion people gaming daily, and with the global gaming market projected to reach 1.160 billion by the end of this year, it is a space that needs a lot of attention and structure. What COVID has created in this environment, with people are largely at home, with no social events, with no physical jobs for majority of the population, and government funding that's enabling people to actually receive more subsidies from staying at home when they're actually working, if they have lost their job due to COVID. Also, if family lost their jobs due to COVID, they don't have to pay rent and are given a whole year to pay it back after the quarantine ends. I just read this week that about 30% of Americans' households are not paying their rent right now. As a result, the majority of the population has a lot of free time. Social gatherings are being replaced by video conferencing and gaming sessions. What most people don't realize is that gamers are very social within their gaming communities. Majority of online sessions are played amongst other players rather than conducting solo. According to Entertainment Software Association, 75% of American households have at least one gamer. That's 214 million Americans. Now their non-gamer family members and friends are joining their gaming community. It is growing and becoming a significant part of the population that cannot be ignored. I would like to provide some interesting stats on gaming. The average age of a gamer is between 35 and 44 years old. 79% of gamers say game provide relaxation and a stress relief. There's about 46 million gamers that have disabilities, and 55% of parents say that they play video games with their children. You can see that from this data that gaming is a force for good and is helping people to cope with stress, PTSD, disabilities, to bond with their children, to acquire new skills, new knowledge, and to socialize online, which is very important during the COVID outbreak. Gaming is helping the world population to deal with the situation coronavirus put us on so many different levels. Let's talk a little bit about education. For all online education is gamified. So now, right now, schools have a very tough decision to make, whether on open or not. I mean, what's currently going on, I'm in Los Angeles right now, and I don't see it very likely for the kids to physically go back to school next month. This means that education will be online through gamifying apps and video conferencing. Last year, over 1,000 universities in the United States offered scholarship for gamers, academic scholarship for gamers. Many of universities have esports teams. They're early adopters. Many universities right now, including Harvard, Cal Berkeley, UCLA, Cambridge, all announced that they're not physically opening their doors for the school next year. It will be online only. That means that non-gamer students will be included in gaming community and will not by choice, but by necessity. COVID forces education, entertainment, socializing to be online. Isolation, fear, security, loss of jobs create a lot of mental issues. And gaming has been proven to address mental health and to help with depression and PTSD. Many therapists are turning to games as a way to treat their patients. With VR, gaming even used to treat chronic and acute pain. On the other hand, increasing gaming activity also leads to health and wellness issues. Prolonged sitting session, uncomfortable chairs, lack of movements and time spent outside, sleep disorders, pain in the hands, wrists, shoulders, back, neck, vision problem, headaches, dizziness, the list is pretty big. So with the world switching to digital life, we need to begin addressing these health concerns immediately. What we're doing to help address this problem is we're creating a centralized lifestyle and wellness platform for the gaming community that addresses the needs of gamers. Skins with the Z.gg is a name and a website for the company we're building. We'll have a portal for health practices, wellness education for gamers, offer supplements, topical creams to help gamers address their needs. And in August, in a few weeks, we'll add a free job portal to help gamers to connect with all employers seeking to hire gamers. It will be free for gamers, and it will really help for gamers to get the job they need in the space. It is estimated that demand for esports talent will create nearly 2 million jobs over the next 5 years. And the current HR, hiring, and staffing firms are very ill-equipped to service this emerging category. Gaming is a great way to empower people to change the current global situation. With many new companies entering gaming space, NGOs, large education organizations should take a closer look to the importance of the gaming industry in the current world. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Natalia. In a short notice, you joined us, and surprisingly, I'm very shocked to learn that the average age is 35 to 44, and 46 million disabled people are using some other type of gaming, and 55% of the parents are playing with their children. It's very interesting statistics.
No.
And one more thing, the gamification of education is definitely a way to go. It will really engage them, and because it will give them the hands-on experience. I think I would like to work with you on some of these things, especially on the education field. So since the gamers are helping by staying home to prevent the spread of COVID, and how do you think the vaccination will come into play and affect the gaming industry?
That's a great question. First, I really don't anticipate that vaccination will be available for the masses this year. By then, the digital system implemented globally due to the COVID limitation will become a new norm. The system will be in place and the new habits will be formed. Many people will be well adapted to it, and the gaming will continue to grow. One thing we also can ignore is the use of the mobile devices, smartphone gaming devices. Percentage of users who play mobile games will rise about 20% by 2020. That's about 2 billion people worldwide, which is a very significant number. Additionally, like I just mentioned, being a gamer is a proxy to ultimate sheltering is in a place. It keeps people entertained, they're not bored, they're not seeking physical form of socializing. And plus, we see such things in Fortnite concert. The variety of entertainment options that can be initiated with this larger gaming platforms are absolutely only limited by your imagination.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I wish you all the best in your Skinsy business. We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
MCs, introduce the next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Mr. Eduardo Huerta Mercado, an international consultant, business executive, and entrepreneur with more than 200 projects developed in 25 countries in America, Europe, and Asia. He specializes in strategy, innovation, and entrepreneurship, knowledge management, public governance, and digital transformation. He has a master's in industrial engineering and operations research, a management of technology from the University of California at Berkeley, an executive master's in business administration from Purdue University, and completed the executive program in general management from Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He is the director at several consulting and technology firms in Latin America and in the US. And he is also an international consultant at the World Bank and the Inter-American Development Bank. Now let's welcome Mr. Mercado to deliver his keynote on the impact of COVID-19 on the rising inequality in Latin America.
Okay, thanks a lot. It's a pleasure and an honor to participate in this very relevant event with such distinguished speakers. In first place, I'd like to give a little background about Latin America. It's comprised of 20 countries with a combined population of 650 million people and a GDP of about 5 trillion, which will make it like the third economy in the world. The main languages are Spanish in most countries and of course Portuguese in Brazil. And there are 3 types of economic systems right now. There are open economies that pursue capitalist-free free trade model like Peru, Colombia, Mexico, Chile. Mixed economies that follow socialist policies like Brazil and Argentina, and closed economies that follow Marxist policies like Cuba and Venezuela. To note, Latin America is the region with the highest levels of income inequality in the world. As you probably know, Latin America region has now become one of the hardest hit by COVID-19. We're like the epicenter of the pandemic right now. And at the beginning of the pandemic, like all over the world, countries faced two options: either prioritize health by imposing strict lockdowns or to lower the number of deaths, or focus on the economy and use less strict social distances measures to ease the economic shock. Latin America has been unable to cope with neither of them, with very few exceptions like Costa Rica and Uruguay, which are very formal and typical countries. The region in general imposed the strictest lockdowns, and yet deaths continue to rise, and the gross domestic product has dropped sharply. For example, Peru is going to drop 18% this year. The reasons behind this situation lie in structural problems like high rates of informality, low quality and accessibility to public services, and low state capacity to deliver policies effectively. Levels of informality may reach up to 80% of the economy in some countries, which means that people in informal businesses are not legally constituted and don't pay taxes. And even though they don't have access to credit and don't use the banking system, so the financial transactions are cash-based. Although these problems have been prevalent for a long time, COVID-19 has exposed the high levels of inequality in the region and extended the gap between rich and poor. The difference now is that perceived inequality has turned real. Worldwide, the difference between perceived and real inequality has been reduced by urban migration, globalization, and the explosion of the internet. Beforehand, many people were unaware of their lack of opportunities because they were isolated in rural areas. Quoting an old movie, what happens is that you covet what you see on internet. For example, in the region, even though Chile has almost no poverty and can be considered a developed country by most measures, social unrest exploded last October after the government decreed a rise in the subject rates. But the real reason behind the protest was the difference in access to education, health, and a livable pension. Before the crisis in Latin America, we knew that access to healthcare and education were much worse for the poorest sectors, and many people even made a living daily and had little savings. Like many countries around the world, the pandemic caused the health system to collapse because there weren't enough beds in intensive care units at the beginning. On the education side, the schools and universities closed in mid-March. Therefore, teaching had to be done remotely, which posed a critical issue because many households don't have internet access. In a family example, we sponsor UTK, United Technologies for Kids, which is an NGO that implements STEM education and social innovation programs, mainly in developing countries. As you know, STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. So far, UTK has worked with more than 200 public and private schools in Peru, Colombia, Argentina, and South Africa, inspiring and teaching thousands of kids who will become the future engineers and scientists that will lead their nation's development. Our instructors come from top US science and engineering schools like MIT, Stanford, UC Berkeley, and University of Michigan that team up with local instructors to teach the kids at schools. However, our programs were disrupted by the crisis. The government's original plan was to open in May, but as the lockdown was extended for the rest of the year, we had to migrate our delivery model fully online quickly. With the help of our partner, MIT J-Well World Education Lab, we developed in rush time the distance version. However, the main challenge we faced was that most of the kids who attend public schools don't have internet access at home. Some don't even have a TV set or a mobile phone, mostly in rural areas. Therefore, with the help of MIT, we created two versions, a synchronous version for urban private schools and an asynchronous version for urban public schools using TV sets and WhatsApp for mentoring purposes. The kids even receive a STEM kit at their home to replicate the lab experience they are lacking because they are not at school anymore. Still, kids in rural areas have to listen to their class from the radio and are missing the whole academic year. This situation may have severe consequences for cognitive development as adults and hamper access to opportunities. Last year, I had the opportunity to work in Haiti, sponsored by the Inter-American Development Bank with James Robinson. You may know him. He's the co-author of the famous book, Why Nations Fail. And we were talking about his theories, that where he explains that the tipping points in history that determine the path of economic and political development of countries and institutional change. And we are in that period like that right now, where major transformation will take place as a result of the interaction of existing institutions and what he calls critical junctures. Critical junctures are major events that disrupt existing political and economic balance in one or many societies, such as the Black Death, which killed millions of people in Europe in the 14th century or the Industrial Revolution. COVID-19 might be one of these critical junctures which determine how societies will move forward. In Latin America, real inequality has driven the rise of populist leaders in the region. Because of the pandemic, thousands of people are experiencing loss of lives, jobs, and access to education. Authoritarian leaders from the left or right are already making promises to help the most hit sectors of the population with populist measures. You know that these actions will only make things worse in the future. Therefore, I believe that there are two ways forward post-COVID for Latin America. Either political leaders decide that it's time to invest in their people and ensure access to public services and decent jobs, creating more inclusive institutions, or the crisis will become a brewing pot for social uprising and populism, leading to less democratic governments and maybe dictatorships, as has already happened in Venezuela. So people are experiencing a loss of. We must take everything we are learning from this crisis and the breaches it has shown in our societies to be able to present it and ensure future sustainable progress in a world that is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous every day. As Yuval Noah Harari in his book Homo Deus quotes, knowledge that does not change behavior is useless, but knowledge that changes behavior quickly loses its relevance soon. Thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, Eduardo. Wonderful to see you. Thank you for inviting me to Peru to address the supply chain conference as a keynote speaker and arranging the trip to Machu Picchu. We had a wonderful time with my MIT professors. Wonderful. And you mentioned some interesting numbers. It's about 650 million people and almost close to 6 trillion economy. But there's some political instability in Latin America, and it may probably impact how we recover from this COVID. Could you please how this political landscape will shift in the Latin American region, which can help the challenges we're going to face, the inequalities in Latin America?
Well, what is expected, that this year, the output levels of the region fall between -5 and -20%, and poverty levels will increase between 10 and 15%. So democratic institutions, more democratic countries, free economies will be challenged, by radical leaders from the left and right. We have both in Latin America. In Brazil, we have a right-wing, radical leader, and in Venezuela, we have a left-wing dictator. So current governments must answer quickly, with swift economic policies and effective communication before problems take over. I believe that governments cannot cope by themselves with these issues. I think wealth that is shared with all citizens is created by the private sector, by us. And I think we must take a more active role, not only in defining, helping the government define the socioeconomic policies, but directly contributing to the community's welfare.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Eduardo. We look forward to working with you, and your work in the STEM education, educating the Latin American youth is amazing. I know that you're associating with MIT, Stanford, and Harvard premier institutes to do that. Thank you so much. So we're running a little late, but we will go to our next speaker, a dear friend of mine from New Jersey, Himanshu B. Patel. MCs, please introduce Himanshu.
Our next speaker is Mr. Himanshu B. Patel, the founder and CEO of Triton Electric Vehicles and Triton Solar LLC, which currently has business in 11 countries. Mr. Patel possesses an in-depth understanding of IT, surveillance, and the solar products that support and maintain those systems. He has applied this vast experience to the renewable energy sector and specifically engineered solar technology, products, and software. Mr. Patel is keen to bring power to the rural areas of the world, as he believes all problems of the world start with power. Triton Solar is the only company in the world to provide hybrid solar panels that not only generate power, but also store it for use at a later time. His Triton electric vehicle prototype is expected to arrive in the US on July 27th. Let's wish Mr. Patel all the success in this new venture and welcome him to deliver his keynote on energy storage and the importance of electric vehicles.
Thank you, guys. So I would like to start with some of the important points about why energy is going to become a very key importance in this COVID-19. As everybody might understand, that there is a time frame in power time. that there was a peak power between the hours of 4 and 9, which is usually when people come home from work, right? And then during COVID-19, we've been home 24 hours. So you can only imagine our power energy requirements are actually running on peak quite a bit. And we're running a lot more unclean energy due to the fact that we're using so much power. That's one of the main components. And I believe that if we don't stabilize the grids, you're going to have more people getting out during the COVID-19, and which will allow more people to spread the virus, right? So we need to make sure that certain countries have stabilized power for multiple purposes, right? For hospital purposes, for the purposes of the fact that if you want to keep people home, they're going to need to have AC units. They're going to be running, they're like somebody else mentioned, the gaming systems. So there's definitely power is like one of the main components that we need to look into and keep an eye on during epics like this, where the spikes happen and we're not geared to be ready for, outages in those time of timings. We've also like to talk about something that most people are probably not aware of on this call, on this group today, is that we talk about electric vehicles, and we talk about electric vehicles doing climate change and how it's affecting the climate and it's changing the climate change. We have a different belief. People have not understood that when you have, as just an example, when you have 10,000 electric cars being plugged in at the same time, that's equivalent to one nuclear power plant. So as it is, we have a demand shortage of power in a lot of places, and especially at hours of 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. And so most people that have electric cars, they come home at 4 p.m. and they plug their car in first thing. So now if you have 10,000 cars plugged in, that equals to one nuclear power plant requirement. So why do we have peak hours is because there's already a shortage of power. So that's why we call it that's the time where we need the most amount of power. And so plugging in more electric cars doesn't really help us. We actually have to build more nuclear power plants and other resources, power. So technically, yes, we're reducing climate change by not putting ammunition in the air, but on the other side, we're doing the same thing anyways, right? We're putting out nuclear waste in the waters, or wherever the nuclear waste is going, and depending on the country. So in our case, what we've done to address those issues, currently right now, just so everybody has a number, like Elon Musk has sold 360,000 cars. That equals to 36 nuclear power plants, which equals to $72 billion in infrastructure that we would have to spend. And on top of that, we have to maintain the nuclear waste for more than 25 years, which would be extremely high. And that still doesn't change the climate change, right? You're still doing the same thing that you're doing with the cars. So what we've done is we built our EV cars to have double the amount of power, so that it can actually, when you come home, you plug in the car, it actually gives power to your home, not doesn't draw power. And it would charge the car back only after the hours of 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. when it's off peak, when there's excess power being wasted. Instead of wasting that power, you're charging your vehicles. That is the way you reduce $72 billion of infrastructure and reduce the nuclear waste that is going to go into our climate change. So we really believe that we've found a solution that can really change the way our infrastructure works. Of course, if there's a power outage, our vehicles will power your home, beyond just that it's sending power during peak hours. It also actually generates you income, because every day it's going to buy power during off peak and use the power when there's peak hours. So those who don't know, but during peak hours, your cost of power could be anywhere between 11 to 40 cents, depending on which country you're in. And during off peak, it can be all the way down to 5 cents to all the way to 10 cents, depending on, again, the country. So you can make a dramatic amount of income while you're owning a vehicle that's electric. So it plays a multiple purpose, and we look to roll this out very soon. And currently, we plan on making this a very strong points to a lot of different countries. And even in the rural areas, we're going with rickshaws that can do the similar things. So it's not just only for the rich and wealthy people. We're doing it similar with, even the smallest people who can drive rickshaws, who can generate more income and still be able to do the climate change at the same time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Himanshu. I think your innovation, I'm very impressed. I visited your plant a couple of times. especially charging your vehicles through off-peak hours and while they are sitting in the garage and powering the homes. It's a wonderful thing that your new innovation will make a difference and save almost $80 trillion worth of infrastructure related costs, and you are doubling the capacity of your batteries on your cars, and that means you drive close to 1,000 miles in one charge. I think it's interesting, and the kind of contribution you're going to make to the environment is amazing. That's what I'm personally interested in. That was the dream of Dr. Kalam, to preserve and protect this planet for future generations. I have one question for you. So when do you think your EVs will hit the market, and what is your plan to spread throughout the world, because it's in need of the hour?
So we have a vehicle coming in July 27th, and then we have another vehicle that'll be on the road testing during September. Our first 100 vehicles gets delivered on August 2021, and then we start our mass production starting December of this year.
Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. I'm sorry, keep you waiting. I know you have another important meeting to run to, but wonderful to see you again. Look forward to meeting you.
Same here, Harry. Thank you guys. And you guys did a great job here.
This particular segment, we completed the speakers, and next segment we're jumping into is the valedictory keynote address by our good friend, Brian Patrick. MCs, please introduce the valedictory keynote.
Our next speaker is Professor Brian Patrick Leaning, who has an international master's degree in communications as well as a bachelor's degree in corporate management and in foreign trade management. He is certified in program management with APMG International and PMI. He's a board member and CEO of innovative technology-driven companies in the digital workspace domain, food industry, natural resources and energy, and defense and advanced systems. He is Secretary of the Sacred Military Constantinian Order of St. George and founder of the Initial Smile Token and investor in the Economy of Peace. He is also Senior Advisor to Lead Ventures, the office of H.H. Sheikh Sultan bin Abdullah Al Qasimi, and private partner to the office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. He is also the chairman of Reifenberg von Hadstein Family Office. Let's welcome Professor Leaning to deliver his valedictory keynote address on the impact of COVID-19 on the economy of peace and the need for continuous investment into emerging countries and regions.
Brian, you are on. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you. It's been great to be here. Thank you, Dr. Harry, dear distinguished panel, dear participants and viewers. I'm happy to be here. It's my great honor and pleasure to be invited to such a fantastic webinar today on the impact of COVID-19 and the future of the global economy and employment. I'm representing today, or talking from our family office, and like for almost everyone else, the impact of COVID-19 is one of the main subjects in recent time. Therefore, we'd like to discuss its impact on what we refer to as the economy of peace and the need for continuous investments into emerging countries and regions. We invest in the nexus of vital industries. So what are vital industries? For us are industries connected to food security, water security, energy power provisioning, healthcare, which is also medical, education at large, recently very much into the online world as well, finance and finance structures, including also all of the blockchain and crypto, and national security, because of its direct connection, in fact, to empowerment of people, employment and the prosperity of people. These are not all sheer altruistic, to be honest, you know, but the economy of peace is the largest economy on earth, and in its connection, you know, everything is intertwined. Without power, no desalination of water. Without power, no lights to learn at night or to go about and go to your factories. Without any kind of security, nowadays we find that regulations and stuff are not easily maintained. Healthcare, because people need to be in good health to work, to be happy, to learn, to go to work. Food security, food safety is essential to anyone. If you don't have anything to eat, the world will look very grim to you and you will start doing other things to get to food. Food is very essential, the same for water. What we wouldn't do for a glass of water if you're dying from thirst. The economy of peace to us is very predictable because it stretches out over so many industries and sectors. Therefore, reducing the risk while creating a proven constant reward is one of the reasons to invest at large in several industries and sectors. COVID-19 particularly, did not have and does not have a negative impact on funds, nor on our investments. This might come to a strike for those who don't know, but at the same time, COVID-19, I heard it once said to me that never let a good crisis go to waste. This is very opportunistic and might be, the view of someone who's in capitalism very much, but in fact, it is true. COVID has a seldom seen impact on the global economy and therefore on the industrial and financial landscape. At the same time, we see crypto coming about, opening doors where they were shut, involving people into the financial and economic system where they were left behind now. COVID-19 not only caused businesses to go out of business, but also provoked the digital transformation to happen much more quickly and overnight. How long would we have waited for everyone to go on a webinar or partake in all kinds of, gamification or sorts? It would have lasted maybe another 10 to 15 years. So this crisis also has this positive upside, and it's bringing us closer together. COVID-19 jammed, however, the global agenda, which included such topics as global warming, poverty, and impact investment. Well, more to the latter, but we were very occupied until, let's say, January, February with global warming. It was the only topic we spoke about. And at the same time, for global warming, we in fact were not really valuing the topic as such. We were more on propaganda, and then I'll speak very liberally about it. But now with COVID-19, we see there's more to it, right? So it's still about global warming, but what can we do with digitalization and with new industries, in fact, to really make that happen as well, so that we have a better Earth tomorrow? COVID-19 increased international and national threat levels, closing not only physical borders, but also economic borders as well. Well, from our perspective, there's no need to that, right? Economy is needed, businesses are needed. We need to work, we need to make a living, right? To shut everything down is, yes, maybe for now, a measure to take, and a very good one. We'll see in years. It's too short to answer that question really now. But one thing we know, if you don't have any money, you will not be happy. If you don't have any money, how to spend it on your health? Even if you wear face masks, if you're not given to you, how are you going to buy them? How are you going to buy all of these, lotions and whatever sprays that will keep you safe? If you don't have the money, you're left out. So money is important, and it's important to make your business. COVID-19 did not affect the total amount of investments, nor the availability of money, nor of investment capital. We only recognize the shift. It is time of opportunity and not one to act upon fear. Fear is never a good guidance in all of the situations. So, continuous investments into the developing countries and regions is essential to empower people, young men, young women, creating their own livelihood and independence, but also those who are 50 or older who see new chances based upon their experience. Upcoming high potential countries, as I call them, instead of developing, I really like that, high potential countries, have a key position in the economy of peace. Every nation now that it has been, on the backdraft or been left out of global economy at large, has now a chance to partake. You don't have to alter or transform what you already have in place. You can start anew. You can start from scratch, which is a huge advantage in today's arena. However, we are aware that young people who studied in their own countries and then left the country, for example, people from India or wherever, used to migrate to other countries to work. We have to create the jobs in the country specifically and to remain or keep the youngsters working there, or diaspora to go back to the nations and help the nations build up very quickly. There's a chance. We do know that mass migrations are to be avoided. Mass migrations are caused for once by poverty, by need. So we have to solve that need. And that's a great opportunity as well. Everybody will partake in this true global economy, as I say. Social demographics of emerging countries or these high potential countries and regions beg for a solution to support the young families building a sustainable livelihood. It is very simple. Once you're not depending on anyone to give you anything, you will have a better chance of being happy. Of course, we know all of the other things that come about, but at least you won't worry about feeding yourself or giving your children an education. Employment, therefore, is crucial on so many levels and a key element for stability and safety. Because having an employment, a job, is so much more than having that job, right? It builds your character, it builds your confidence, it gives you trust in the future, it makes you dare things. Having a steady income to most humans now is the highest achievable goal. So there's no room for self-development. Employment keeps the people of the street as well, improving security. Therefore, it is very important to invest in this future of global healthcare, education, energy, and the other sectors I mentioned. We are getting closer to a true global economy where there's great opportunity for people around the globe. New technologies, mobile communications, and financial systems make that better possible, allowing those who were excluded from even a bank account to now become part of that financial ecosystem and swiftly improving their empowerment, and certainly in those high potential regions. It is more than doing great business. It is our responsibility to invest into global and local societies to create affordable healthcare, affordable education, affordable energy, and for most also affordable, nutritious, and healthy food. There's nothing worse than seeing people go out every single day trying to make a living for their family and not being able to. Or what they bring home as food is poisoned or not ready to consume. This is very dire, and it strikes me to the bone every time. And this is what we do as a family office. This is our main goal, to improve that empowerment. Investing into this economy of peace brings great happiness and fortune to everyone. And from my personal perspective, it may be the only thing that is worth our energy and time of those who can. Even on a lower personal level, everyone is responsible for contributing as much as they can. The person I hold very dear always tells me, Brian, is not a sprint race, it's a marathon. And I do agree. But if you don't keep going, you will never get anywhere. As Benjamin Franklin said, God does not give money. He gives the power to get wealth. And fortune favors the prepared mind. And this is the one thing. If we can get people ready, if we can educate them and give them some money in their pocket, or the ability, not give money, but ability to earn money, we create a better world. And then we also find solutions where COVID has no threat to. And this is my valedictory keynote speech, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Brian. It's a wonderful message. I strongly believe in your principles, empowering people to earn their living respectfully while keeping them healthy, educated, and have their nutritious meal on a daily basis. I think you are doing a great service to the humanity through your family office. I have one question. I also strongly believe in this digital transformation. I talked during my opening remarks. Technology has to play a big role in this inclusive economic and socio-economic development in the world. A lot of people are left out of the 7.8 billion people. Only several billion people are empowered, but rest of them are not. Imagine if we empower everybody else, the world will be much better world. Everybody will be happy. They don't want to depend on anybody to support them. They want to earn their living on their own.
Correct.
We can do that. How do you think this digital transformation will create employment in the emerging countries? I like the word you were high potential countries.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, I believe that people in emerging countries have great ambition, right? And take pride in their success. Very much more than, let's say, in most European countries, right? We don't share success as people do in high potential countries. If you are successful, or to any extent in let's say a high potential country, you like to share it with your family, you like to share it with your friends. People will be happy for your success, and they will copy and try to do what you do. And this is a thing that we not so much see, let's say, in the Western world. Like this our fellow Zayed said, it is about attitude, right? Having the right attitude. And if you're hungry, and then you also have little to lose, and there's everything to go. And this is something amazing. Being in need is not your end. It's just your start. It's your beginning, right? You have everything to go for. And now with digital transformation in the fourth economy, right? Or the fourth digital revolution, technology makes a lot more available, right? Especially in education. But technology makes it also low tech. It's not all about high tech, also low tech. If we can create and be creative, we can create low tech. And low tech already can play a huge part in agriculture, right? To cultivate better, to grow your crops better, to be more in control. A little bit of internet can help anyone achieve a lot. So that's why I think that those who are empowered or in power have a great opportunity to invest in those rural communities, in those high potential areas.
Thank you.
Because the people will appreciate it.
Sure, definitely. There's one more thing. Because of the COVID, it impacted really the liquidity. A lot of people are unemployed, and most of them are on a daily wage earners. If they want to re-engineer themselves to have a better life, they want to get into new businesses. The capital may be available for bigger corporations, but how about the micro credits and small businesses during this time? They are struggling. How do we fund those people to enable them to bring back their life to normal?
Well, to us, we can invest, let's say, 1 million into one business, or we can support 2,000 businesses, right, with a smaller amount. The thing is that for microcredits and microfinances, you can do a lot. And a lot of people, or most people, don't need a lot of money to achieve success, right? To have that increase of their income. And this is very important. The world survives on small businesses, not on larger corporations. We always look at the big ones, right? But count the number of people who work in the small companies, right? Far more than in those global companies, right? And of course, they're leading, and we supply to them from a small company background. But still, if we can support small businesses, family businesses, just starting, taking a chance, because, if I lose $5,000, for instance, right, I won't eat anything less. I won't drink a cup less. I'll still do my stuff, right? But to some other people, $5,000 may change their life forever. So, and I believe that microcredits and microloans can do a lot, and even with COVID, we can tell them, pay in 3 years, right? We don't have a 7%, 8%, 12%, 16% revenue on the loan. It's insane, right? So it's better to be a partner than to be a lender.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. I think I'm very fortunate to have connected with you. So with your kind of mindset, we could make a difference in many lives on the planet because they're all suffering. I'm not sure how long this COVID will continue. I think we need to give them the confidence that, yes, we can fund you and we could bring your life back to normal. I think I'll work with you on this because I'm very much keen on enabling people to earn their living respectfully rather than depending on the government entitlements. Governments
Yes,
also,
it's about solidarity right now.
their revenues went down. Governments cannot support either. So people have to self-empowered to do, as we
Yes.
said, self-help is the best thing to do. And we need to find a way to use the technology to educate and empower them. I think it's a wonderful thing. And thank you for having.
Thank you so much.
This long to deliver your valedictory keynote. Wonderful. So now I would like to switch back to a couple of thank you notes to all the people who helped us in this. One second, let me share the screen for a minute. So I think we got the person of this crisis, the chairman of the World Health Organization, Dr. Harshavardhan, joining us, truly made a difference to us today. His message and his giving the confidence to the people that he is there to address this COVID-19, not just in India, but as a chairman of the executive board of World Health Organization. I'm looking forward to his leadership to make a difference, and hopefully this vaccine will come soon. Dr. Harshavardhan, again, I gratefully appreciate your time and in participating in this webinar and addressing the global view. I was getting messages that about over 1 million people watching this show, and I would like to thank all the speakers, Ziad, from your busy schedule joining us today and delivering your inaugural keynote, and Prime Minister, in spite of your busy schedule and several conflicting meetings, you made time for us and talked about the African diaspora and its role. Brian, really sincerely thank you for stepping up through your family office to help people to earn their living respectfully. Vibhav, I look forward to your leadership, especially through alternate development model. It is the need of the hour. We need to change the way we take care of the people of the health and their education and empowering them to earn their living. It has to be an inclusive development, not just tailored to certain people only. I think I really appreciate you joining us today. Professor Manuel, truly you are the kind of person I want to work with because you are closely connected with the education, especially in the medical education. So it solves two issues, healthcare and education, from our Lead India mission. And I look forward to associating with you. And thank you so much for joining us today. Natalie, you gave me a lot of surprising statistics. Interestingly, the percentages are very big, and they are truly helping to contain the COVID spread because this gaming population is staying home. I think if you could somehow come up with this gamification of education, that's where my interest is. So hopefully we will cross our each other and get to know more to see how your gamification can help to educate the world. Eduardo, I think Latin America needs your kind of vision and mission that you want to transform the way the kids are educated by engaging all these premier institutes like MIT, Stanford, Yale. So I look forward to working with you, and you already invited me to Peru once, and it's a wonderful to see you again. Himanshu, you are the game changer, and you are coming up with this innovative technology to place a car, not just to drive on the roads, but to energize the homes and the world, and at the same time reduce the amount of investments needed in the energy sector. You talked about almost $80 trillion. That's a big number. And I wish you all the best and look forward to working with you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be on your advisory board. So it's very kind of you, and wish you all the best. So the next, I would like to thank my media partners, especially the TV5 and Mana TV, KCR, and Sridhar Chillara, CEO. They've been very helpful in setting up these webinars and helping us with the broadcast and providing us the raw link to, so that the video can be played in many other channels. Our other media partners, TV Asia, Srinivas Ganagoni, I would like to thank you personally, GNN, NRI, GKTV, Janam Sakshi, Radio Aid, Free Express, Navateja TV, Voice Today, V5, Top Telugu, BCN News. All these channels broadcasted their viewers. Each of them have got a couple of millions, and majority of them are tuned in. I'm getting the reports. So it may be more than 1 million people watched your show today. Thank you, all the speakers. And I would like to thank all the supporting organizations, the CIC Group, Al Khalifa Business School, Alternate Development Organization, Digiton, Triton Electric Vehicles, Telangana Youth Organization, and World Environment Organization, SDG, and NI Wala. So I would like to thank you all for making this possible. I would like to thank our MCs, Madhuri Gujje, Samir Ipanapalli, and Vaishnavi Chipa. Let's have a big round of applause to these people. They worked very hard for the last couple of weeks in compiling and managing this final show today. Thank you so much. So would like to again let you know that we have an event coming up on Sir Ravi Garu. Okay, so we would like to announce that on July 27th, it is the 5th anniversary of our mentor, Dr. Abdul Kalam. And our event is, the topic is going to be on the rural economy. How do we revive the rural economy? So I'd like to see some of you recommend some way to revive the rural economy, especially in India. There are a lot of migrant people left without any jobs, and they are struggling. So we need to find ways. I think the ideas Brian has provided, probably we can take some inputs from there. And the government of India, a lot of people are participating in that webinar. So we look forward to having you attend that webinar as well. It's on July 27th, same time. We will, governor of the state of Andhra Pradesh and the chairman of the DRDO, Dr. Satish Reddy, is going to deliver the keynote address as well. He's the one man built a 1,000-bedded hospital in New Delhi in record 12 days. And he's a rocket scientist and a big follower of Dr. Kalam. He will be joining us on that day. Again, I would like to thank everybody, our team, technical team. I would like to thank Raju Neta, who did all the social media campaigning, and Dr. Ram Maruri from Hyderabad, who did all the registrations and followed up. And we have Srinivas Komadipalli, who took care of our website. Then we have Srinivas Guduru, who helped us in coming up with this program and helping us design the flyer and other things. Then we have a lot of other youngsters on different countries helped us in coordinating with various TV networks and also to the local organizations to enable them to watch this program. So Dr. Ravi Ayagari, who's sitting in Delhi, who joined us also, he is instrumental in helping us with the technology part of today's program. Thank you, Dr. Ravi Garu. So I think if I missed anybody, I would like to take the responsibility on the shortcomings, and all the good things happened goes to my team. This is how Dr. Kalam taught me. As a leader, I need to take the responsibility for any shortcomings. And the program went beyond what we expected. But it's worth listening to all these eminent speakers from all over the world. I think this is one of the sessions I personally enjoyed seeing all of you. I personally selected you, one from Japan, Vibhav, thank you for joining, and Eduardo from Latin America, and Brian and Professor Manuel from the Europe. And we have Dr. Harshavardhan representing the World Health Organization from India, and Ziad and Natalie from the Wall Street. And then we have Himanshu from the energy world. I think it is a very, very select group of eminent speakers, and you provided a lot of insight. And I would like to request all the speakers to participate. I will create a task force to compile the proceedings. And I would like to, I spoke to Professor Manuel before, but he will be leading this effort of gathering the inputs from you to compile the proceedings of this webinar so that we could circulate to various governments and interested civil societies and nonprofit organizations who can take this message forward. There's a lot of valuable information being presented here in this conference, and we want to put to use some of these things where there is a need, because everybody is struggling and they are in panic condition, and this kind of confidence giving, moral boosting webinar with a lot of practical approach to reviving the economy and providing the affordable quality healthcare, providing affordable quality education, providing affordable quality energy, and also kickstarting this economy so that people can get to work wherever they are, possibly from their homes if they can start working and earn their living respectfully. Again, from my entire team, I would like to thank all of you and look forward to working with you. And wherever you are, be careful, stay safe, because you are needed to keep others safely. So this COVID is going to stay with us for some more time. We need to learn to live with it. If not COVID, we may have something else. So I think this gave us a big lesson how to survive on this planet, and we survived in the past, and we will continue to survive with your positive and encouraging attitude and guidance. I think we will survive. So I would like to wish you all the best, and wish you a safe and healthy life ahead and success in your every endeavor that you do in your life. And I will work with you personally one-on-one. If I can be of any help to you, please feel free to reach me anytime. I'll make time for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much
Thank you.
Thank you.
for giving
Thank you
this
so much.
opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harigaru.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night, sir. Good night.
Good afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Hare Kishan.
Stocks are mixed today. Let's get a look under the hood with Jared Blickery. Jared.
But we got more FANG underperformance. Just looking at the Wi-Fi Interactive, we got Netflix leading the way down. Another 7% today, 10.5% for the week. But the big winners today are in utilities and healthcare and real estate. So kind of a defensive look here. And here you can see that energy now leading to the downside with communication services. Julie?
Thanks so much, Jared. Appreciate it. Coming up next hour, we'll be continuing to focus on Netflix. Stay tuned. Back on the move on Yahoo Finance, I'm Julie Hyman. Adam Shapiro is off today. I'll be joined by my colleagues Rick Newman and Dan Howley over the next hour. We've seen stocks bounce around in a very tight range today. There's still little change. The Dow right now is down 0.1%, the S&P 500 up about 0.5%, and the NASDAQ is up about the same. So a little bit of tepid action overall to end the week here, but not so tepid when it comes to some individual stocks that are out with earnings. Netflix, for example, those shares have been tumbling today after the company gave out a forecast for subscriber growth that was lower than anticipated. We're going to talk more about that in just a moment. We got some interesting economic data today. Housing starts up 17.3% last month. That was just shy of estimates. Building permits also just shy of estimates with an increase of 2.1%. And consumer sentiment coming in below estimates in a little bit more dramatic fashion. The University of Michigan's confidence reading unexpectedly falling in July. It's a preliminary reading for July to 73.2. Also, we have to talk about what continues to go on with the coronavirus. 77,000 cases reported yesterday. That is a single day record. We have been seeing a lot of